Hi. We're going to be doing our show here in just a minute, waiting on my business partner. She's going to hop on with me. Hi. How are you guys tonight? What are you guys up to? Perfect.
Yay! We made it! I'm so excited.
Yes, this is perfect.
Back to MonuMENTAL Minds, y'all. I'm Megan Rose.
And I'm Mariah Ray, and we're the co-owners and founders of MR2 Connections Incorporated. And we're here with episode 14 of Catching Those Feel Goods. Tonight is a really special night, but it looks a little bit different. Usually our live stream of MonuMENTAL Minds is on Facebook Live. But tonight we wanted to kind of come and get to know our TikTok community a little bit. So we're super excited to be here with you guys and be filming from TikTok Live. And Megan, why don't you take us off with your quote?
Yeah, I'm super, super excited. Thank you so much for all the followers that we have here on TikTok. We really wanted to bring it here. If you're not very familiar with this platform that we utilize, we created it to really just break that stigma around mental health and just normalize talking about it because it's so important, and it's so important for absolutely everybody. This is our 14th week, technically 15th, but it's our 14th episode of MonuMENTAL Minds, and we go live every single weekend. And we touch on these, and you can find all of our episodes on our YouTube channels. So you can check it out on our bio. For those of you who are following me personally, Mariah is actually on our MR2 Connections page, so please show us some love there. We will drop her link for her personal link as well. And yeah, follow our YouTube channels. We're super, super excited. You can catch up on all the episodes. But like Mariah had mentioned, this is our 14th episode, and it's called Chasing Those Feel Goods. And we're just going to talk about why it's so important to really seek the things that make you feel good. And in our studying this week, I was reading a little bit from Dr. Ishigupta. I'm so sorry if I pronounced that wrong. But he's with the IGEA Brain and Spine Center. And he said that a smile like sparks a reaction between the brain and the spine. And it causes the chemical reactions to release all the different hormones that we hear about. Serotonin is very commonly known to help reduce stress and, balance the mood. And then you've got the endorphins, which are the natural brain killers, oh my word. The natural painkillers in the body. And dopamine, of course, the feel-good hormone. It's so important to have those in check and balanced. And so oftentimes, I know for me personally, like in my work life, like I would be like, oh, well, I need to wait. I can't do that now. But it's really so important to seek and find things that are going to actively keep you feeling good.
Right. Yeah, it is important. And I think like the thing about it is it's not, and sometimes it's not always going to be easy to like seek those things or to remember to do that. So it's just so important that we start to get like a balance for it, and we just like keep our foot on the gas when it comes to like finding stuff that makes us feel good. But I mean, when I started thinking about it, one of the first things that came to mind for me was my medication, because for me, I have to be medicated for my depression and anxiety and things like that. And that's just something I know I can't go without. And I know I can't even get to the level of like where I can get to chasing for feel goods if I don't take my medicine first. So I'm like really big and like breaking the stigma around pill shaming and stuff like that, because I think for some people it's a must. And for some people, they don't need it and they found other ways. But like super, super proactive for either way that you are, right? I just think it's super important to that if you need meds to not feel ashamed of that, because otherwise it's like really hard to get those balances even right to start chasing after some of those things that we need to really feel happy in our day-to-day life.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so important because sometimes they are necessary. And that's not a bad thing. And I feel like for so long there's just a certain stereotype around it. And we really have made that a mission of ours to help break that as well. So thank you so much for sharing that, because it's so easily to slip into words of like, oh, well, you're dependent on,
Yeah.
well, yeah, because that's just chemically how it is,
Yeah.
and it's cool. That's okay.
Right. Right. Yeah, and that's kind of a cool thing between you and I is like you were able to stay unmedicated for a while because you had to get used to that. Whereas I've tried to stay pretty continually medicated just because without it, I really like it is very hard for me to function with my mental health. Um, but that just goes to show there is different ways to do it, and there is no right or wrong to either one of them. So that's one of the first things I started to think of when I was thinking of like what feel goods do I chase after was meds, but I think there's tons of other things, right? And I think they go on a scale, so they could be small little things that you do daily, and they could be like some could take up more time or look different in your life. But I think one of the little ones for me recently, and it's not one that's been easy, but it's exercising. um and I think I'm not a huge exercising person, right? Like I can think of a million other things I'd rather do with my day than exercise. I sure can. But I know the feeling when you get done exercising, and there's nothing better than that, right? Like in the release of hormones that you get. And I think it's super important that we push ourselves and challenge ourselves, because it's such a big payoff in the end.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. And you've been so inspiring for me personally in my journey with that, because I don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't like working out, but I really like feeling good.
Right.
So, sometimes it is things like that. Maybe it's not something you necessarily enjoy. Maybe it is. Um, but yeah, that's something I've been working on much more consistently, and it feels so good. Like I lost my last check in, I lost 7 pounds,
Yes.
and just to get more active. And I don't really work out in a traditional sense. I'm just going back to yoga because
Right.
that is something very meditative. And something that I really enjoy, and I love. Shout out to Jillian Michaels, y'all. I love her
Yes.
and her the cardio yoga meltdown, I believe is what she calls it, and it does take the stretching, but it reps it out a little bit, so I am able to manage my asthma, because that's one thing I feel like so like exasperated and yucky, and that's one part of working out that I really didn't like, because I was triggering asthma, but being able to manage through that and still work out, still feel good about it, and being able to
Right.
breathe is just it's cool.
Well, and I think too, like on that, it could be 10, 15 minutes a day, and it can be a walk as long as it's something in addition to what your normal day is. Like that active, that active thought and that active action to do something and to exercise and to get our bodies moving. And like personally, I've really benefited out of like 5K walks or runs because I don't like exercising. So although that's not like my go-to, I get a medal at the end of that. And like medals to me feel real good, you know?
Yeah, I want to do that so
So
bad.
that's
I
like the
always, every time
motivation.
I walk into your place, I always see those medals. I'm like, it would be really cool to have one of those.
Right. Exactly. Well, and what's cool is, like COVID-19 and all this stuff and being in a world pandemic has caused, some things that aren't great. But at the same time, as far as 5K walks and runs, like 5K walks and runs are now virtual. So the ones that I have medals for in my house, Like you can just go online and you buy it and you can just do it on your own terms, right? So you walk your 3.5, or you run your 3.5, you do whatever, but you just get to do it on your own. So it's everybody can do it, and you can get these awesome medals, and it does feel really good. You get your t-shirt, you get your number, you get your medal. So for me, that was just another part of like trying to make something like exercising that I'm not too fond of work for me. And I think there's so many people that I know and that I'm friends with that yoga is their go-to, or like Pilates or something really like that.
But even still, I'm like, even with things that I enjoy, I'm like, well, I'd rather do something else. So yeah, finding the balance and just focusing on the end result. I just love the races that you do. There's just so much joy in that, and the reward is really, really cool. And in most cases, you're always advocating for something in that. And I just love it because it brings so much awareness to so many things that I didn't even realize were a thing.
Yeah, that's what's cool too with runs, is that a lot of the times they are for a cause, and that can be another motivating thing to be able to do, a walk or a run, even though you're not that excited about the actual walk or run itself.
I would be the walker.
Yeah,
call it a run all you want. I will be walking, but I'll make it across.
That's right. See, like, but you still want to walk for that cause, so like it'll still get you up and moving. So I think like it's all about finding what works for you when it comes to like exercise, because like getting on a treadmill isn't going to work for everybody, or getting out there and running at 6 a.m. isn't going to work for everybody. And whether it be just because that doesn't work with your schedule or your kids.
Lord bless the runners, y'all. I don't know how you do it. I wish.
Yeah. Yeah, and like the runners that'll like stay consistent all through the winter, hats off to you. Cannot do that. I don't know. I can't.
Even the bicycle, like the bicyclists, like they're so intense, but they have so much fun and they just love doing it. Not really my thing, but it's so cool. It's so cool.
Yeah, cycling and all that. There's so many things that you can get into, and then like it's really just about finding what works for you. Like I loved Zumba for a while, and like that brought me a lot of joy.
And Zumba, I love that you mentioned Zumba. My grandma actually taught Zumba classes at the community center in Florida.
That's awesome.
She's just obsessed, and dancing is so much fun. And that's actually something, I'm so glad you brought that up, because it's one of the things that I really wanted to get back into. As a child, like I did it all the time, and it was so much fun. I lost confidence somewhere along that. I let that happen. That was just self-inflicted negative self-talk that really pulled my confidence and joy out of it, which was kind of a shame. So I know you had mentioned, like talking about things that we wanted to get into, like goals, and that's one of those things. Like, I really want to do that again. We should find a Zumba class.
Yeah, Zumba's so fun. And I think it helps in a lot of ways, right? Like you get to exercise, but I think it also helps on your confidence, but also like a safe space just to kind of like dance and have fun. And you don't have to hit every move and you don't have to do all that. You are simply like getting in there, having a blast with a whole bunch of other people and just letting loose. And I think that's super fun and a huge confidence booster too. So that's like a double for me as far as exercising.
Yeah, absolutely. Because then you get that fellowship added, and it's just like, for me, dancing is just such a celebration, and it's universal. It's one of those universal things that's just so amazing, and it just spreads so much joy. That and music are one of those universal things. I get to, why am I getting oozy and emotional? It's just, there's so much power in it. And being able to like unify through any type of activity really, but especially something that gets your adrenaline going so much and brings so much joy. Talk about releasing oxytocin,
Right. Well, like, I think it just brings you back. Like, what are some of, as we get to be adults, sometimes we don't think about these memories all the time. But, like, when I think back to some of my childhood memories, whether it be with my mom or, like, a good friend, and we're driving in the car and you turn the music up, and for a second, you guys are just blaring out the lyrics, and, like, you're just kind of in a different world, right? Like, nothing else mattered. it was just you and the music. You were having a good time. The music brought you to a certain place. And I like music is in a lot of my core, like happy memories, I think.
Yeah. It's music. I just love it. It's so, like you said, like in a group setting, there is so much fun. You just have a blast belting out and celebrating. And even in those moments alone, though, it's just so powerful. I actually struggled with music for a long time, not even just like singing it, because that's something that I'm working through within my own confidence and getting back into. But even listening to it was very hard for me because it would bring out so many emotions. And you worked with me on this for a long time, with being vulnerable and being okay with sitting and resting with your emotions and working through them. And it's so important to allow yourself to feel that way.
Right. Yeah, no, it definitely is. I think like like we were talking about before this, like with American Idol, we're both huge fans, right? Like fangirls
Ah,
of American Idol.
obsessed.
Yes, like it is
I'm
crazy,
I
but
The Voice is my baby though. I like The Voice.
yes, yes. I do love The Voice too. I really it's all singing shows. I watch like a ton of singing shows and like just
The
competitions like
Masked
that.
Singer. I watch them all.
Yeah,
Obsessed.
Masked Singer, America's Got Talent. I guess what I really like to see, right, is people going after their passions and like really crushing it. And I think that brings hope to me and it makes me feel good. And like, but as far as emotions, it's not just all this. I'm like sitting there, like, I promise you, in any competition show, even like Bachelor and Bachelorette, okay, I have like a wet shirt. I am bawling. I am like so happy for these people. I'm like, oh my gosh, their life is changing. They're gonna have all these
Oh my
followers.
god.
They're gonna be so loved. They're gonna feel loved. Like even in like I think on
You
those
go
shows
feel
too.
Marlene. Oh,
Yes, I think on those shows too, it helps because they tell parts of their stories and they get transparent, right? And these are people that are just like you or I, right? They before they got on these shows, they were just working their 9 to 5s, doing their thing, never they weren't expecting all this sudden feel good and this and that. And it's just something that's so exciting for me to see is like people really crush their dreams. And like, even though they're not the winners on there, you just see them soar. And there's just something so good about just seeing other people's dreams come true.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. And I put it on my bucket list and I'm speaking it into existence because if I don't, I won't. I will be on The Voice. I'm going to audition.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it. I'm just working through that confidence factor. But like, it's just so cool. And it's just such an amazing opportunity. It was crazy. Like, okay, you, so you had mentioned like when you watch it, like triggers those emotions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was watching American Idol and I felt the same that I always did while I was watching The Voice until I Googled that it was like through like 18 through 29 or 13 through 29 or whatever it is. So the cutoff date was 29. And I instantly noticed a difference in how I was taking it in and absorbing
Mm-hmm.
it. I'm like, damn, that kind of takes a little bit out of it because it's then not a reality for me. And that's what's so empowering about these shows is it really makes it a reality for so many people who
Mm-hmm.
are just working the regular 9 to 5, and
Mm-hmm.
it's, oh my gosh. I'm sorry. Out of the corner of my eye, I just saw a comment. We have somebody watching here who was on American Idol. Hi, Spicy
Ah,
Bree. Oh my God, how cool. That is so
so exciting.
exciting. So exciting. It's such a cool opportunity. And, it's a lot of what I've been working through in my process um, with healing is, you know, accepting the fact that, hey, I did miss out on opportunities because I let fear get in the way. But now I'm at the point where I'm like, how much longer am I going to be letting it hold me back? I'm just,
Right.
oh my gosh, Bree, that's my cousin Bree. She was on American Idol. Shut the front door.
Small world.
How did I not know this? I'm a horrible cousin. I'm so bad. That's
Okay, no negative
crazy.
self-talk.
Oh yeah, you're right. I catch myself.
Reel it
I
in.
gotta catch
Reel it
myself.
in.
Um, But yes, so holy cow, we are talking about that later. It's so exciting because this just made it so much more real, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm very excited to continue working through that with myself and just allowing myself to experience that, because it is like such a real opportunity, and it's just so much fun. Just celebrate music and be able to sing. Like I was doing like a music study, and they said there's just so much stress release in singing, whether you're good at it or not. It doesn't. It brings so much joy and so much celebration. I think that's why worship is such a big thing within the Christian community or any religious community, really, because I think worship and meditation, connecting with the that part and that energy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no. And I totally relate. Like, I think gymnastics for me as like a younger kid always brought so much joy to me. But then after a certain age, I was like, I kind of, I skipped out on that. Like, when am I going to have a chance to do that? But I think JVN has brought a lot of like hope and pride to me about that, because JVN's out here like in its 30s doing like all these crazy gymnastics stunts on his comedy
No
tours. I
way.
mean, he's
I
like
need to
flipping
follow
and
him a little
dipping and
better.
yeah, yo, like out there in his rainbow leotard, yes, honey, flipping all over, doing comedy, and like he's just like living his like best and most true life, And I think that like even though we may have missed some opportunities, right? Like I think as a kid I was always like, oh, I can do so great in gymnastics that I can, be in the Olympics. Yeah, maybe I'm not going to be in the Olympics anymore, but can I still find joy from gymnastics and bring that into my life at this point,
Yeah,
and that's so
absolutely.
possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And being able to reconnect with that inner child and realizing that it's so crazy, because I was just thinking about this the other day too. I've been doing a lot of reflecting and studying, and there's a lot of what's the word? I want to be careful with my choice of words here. Um, there's a very different range of opinions that people have around the owner of Amazon going to the moon. And I thought about that, like, because there was a lot of like discrimination on like how he could have spent that money in better ways. But like, for me, I look at that, I'm like, for me, I just kind of reflect. I'm like, that would be like my inner child coming out. Like, I think of the little boy who dreamed of being an astronaut and going to the moon, and he made it in the business world to an insanely amazing successful point and was able to build that dream. So that's my perspective on it. I did a lot of reflection because my first instinct was like, why? But like, it's
Right.
really cool. It's a cool thing, and it just really does show you that you can literally go to the freaking moon if you want to.
Right. Yeah, that's so crazy. Well, and I think it's important, right? Like I think that's so hard, especially for people that do end up with a lot of money and are really well off, is people always want to think of how you should spend your money or say their opinion on that. And I think, unless you've come forth and like shared your whole life story, like who knows why this guy wants to go to the moon? Maybe that's like
Right.
the one thing that he always thought that was, like you just don't know. And I think that's a good thing to remember just in our day-to-day lives, is we don't know people's stories. And although we're like creating this platform, Monumental Minds, to be able to have people share their stories, we don't always know them at surface level. We have to get on here and like have people share and like really get down to the bottom of some things. But I think people are so quick to judge like how people choose the exercise. Oh, why aren't you like, why don't you go to the gym instead of just doing yoga? You're not going to get as much out of that. Well, like
Right.
that's not necessarily true, because
Right.
what you get out of yoga is what somebody else gets out of going to the gym like 2-3 times a day, like it's
Right.
so personal. So it's when you really are thinking about chasing what makes you feel good, it is so personal for you. So even if you've heard somebody's way of doing it and like that didn't click with you, that doesn't mean that you don't get to be a happy person, you know?
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I love that we advocate for like just anti-shaming anything, because I mean there's no reason for it, and it just brings about such a negative energy within yourself, really. And I just I like finding the different vantage points and perspectives, because you never know. And people's stories are so unique and so
Mhm.
cool, so fascinating. And that's why like sometimes we'll get like stuck a little bit within ourselves and like what should we talk about? Because it's just really never ending, and there's just so
Mhm.
much opportunity and so much that needs to be talked about and brought awareness to. And we find so much joy and passion in that, and being able to really sometimes relate, because it's not, you might not always be able to relate, but to learn and to grow in knowledge, and just to gain different respects for people in different regards.
And that's why like we're always pleased to be on our platform and speaking to you guys and sharing our stories and our thoughts on all different topics really. But we are just equally as excited when we get speakers and we're able to book speakers and have speakers come on here and talk to you, because there just is certain things that we haven't gone through, and that's just matter of fact, right? And that's for anyone. So to be able to broaden what you know and educate yourself and advocate for anyone, right, you need to hear everyone's stories. So, as much as I would like to say that Megan and I could share all the things you needed to know about these topics, that's just not true, because we just haven't experienced them personally. And I think the best testimony to something that you can get is something that you've experienced personally. So, that is why we just love getting speakers on here and coaches and just people from all different, aspects and places in the world and places in their life and things like that. Because it's they're going to reach somebody that we can't, and that's part of the happiness that brings us, is when it's able to reach somebody, and I think that's why we truly find so much happiness in the platform that we're doing now.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it just, I, every time I think about it, you can't help but to smile, really. And it's really just the most amazing thing that we've been able to, um, you know, find, and monetize and make a living off of something that we're passionate about, and something that's really, has meaning. Because I mean, it was so important for me to like have a why behind it, and we've been able to find that. Um, I mean, because we could sell T-shirts all day, but like, why are we selling
Right.
T-shirts? It's to advocate for what? For everything, man.
Right.
And I love being able to network. I find so much joy in that, being able to connect and learn and like
Yeah.
find new things
Create
to
a
advocate
community
for.
too,
Right.
you know.
Feed so much off of each other, and there's so much creative energy out there that I just want to soak it all in.
Well, yeah, and I think too, like, okay, so within the business, I think crafting has proved to be one of our things that has brought us happiness for a long time. I think just even from being a kid, like, I think one of the things that always brought me joy was just being able to sit down with like a coloring book and some markers at first, and
Yeah.
just color. And like, I think that was a form of meditation for me at one point, or just a way to slow down. At one point, and like just creating something that's beautiful in the end, right, brings those good feelings. um but then also I think, as time went on, it was creating bigger things and hair bows and this and that, and then we get here to where we actually have a business where it's like anything from like coffee cups to t-shirts to headbands, and there's just so much we can do now with all these little tidbits of happiness of crafting like throughout the years of our lives, and I just think it's super cool how that's evolved.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's amazing. It's just it keeps me awake at night in the best way possible, because there's just so much potential, and there's so much that we can do with it, and just it's just amazing. So we cannot thank you enough for all the love and support that you have shown through this. Um, because even 12 years ago when we first started, it was like crafting with a purpose,
Yeah.
and uh, it was just so cool. It was so cool that we were able to shift into that. Um, I love the painting box. I was thinking about this.
Yeah.
I was watching the show, and they had like easels, like they started
Yeah.
painting. Um, when especially when COVID hit, right? And I was like, oh my God, like that was one of the funnest things that I ever did when I was a kid. And I'm like, I should do that again, because I did find so much joy in it. And like you said, with like the coloring and the coloring book, like at a very early age, like you can learn to meditate without even realizing that you're learning to meditate. I mean, you were probably 4 years old with crayons and coloring,
Yeah.
and just like totally in another world that you were creating, and it is the coolest thing.
Yeah. No,
Painting,
definitely.
drawing. Oh,
Yeah, crafting is a really big outlet, and I think finding your creative side too. And I think everybody has a creative side, right? I think just some are more closed off to it. But I think everybody does have a creative side, and anybody can find joy out of just that like creative passion, whether it be writing or singing or dancing or coloring or or artist work or whatever it may be. Um, but that's definitely one of the things I think is similar for both of us that has brought us joy throughout the years. And then another similar thing is our furry friends. I think our dogs are huge for us, and cat too. But I think there's just so much that like I guess I don't even realize how much I miss it until I'm like having a hard time and I'm outside of the house and I'm like, I just want my dog. I don't want anything else. I just want my dog and I'll be good. You know? So I think there's a lot in that. And I think too, like when you think about pets, you think about therapy animals. And my mom worked in a hospital for a long, long time. And they would have their therapy dogs and stuff come through the hospital and see the kids and just like the joy and the immediate smiles and things that are brought to people who are in so much pain and who have had medical diagnoses that they can't turn around, and so just to see that instant joy come across somebody's face who is in a situation that's not always the greatest is just like, wow, like that little creature, that little furry being can bring that much happiness. And I think pets do bring a lot of joy to a lot of people's life.
Absolutely. And a lot of you guys may know this, may or may not know this, but we've touched on this before. Like when we originally started, um, it was M's Cuties Rescue, and it was really focused on saving the furry friends. And I didn't really think about why I really wanted to do that. I just knew that they're critters that don't have a voice, and I've always really wanted to give a voice to animals and people. Uh, Sorry, I'm trying not to get too emotional, but it's like who else will if we don't? And
Right.
that's why I have so much respect for the rescues, and I just absolutely love Betty White. We've been doing a lot of donations to the Betty White Rescue, but like they hold so much healing power within their little itty bitty souls or entities or whatever you want to call them. And they just they take away every ounce of sadness that you may be feeling or experiencing in that moment. I know the first thing I do when I wake up, and I was not really aware of this until I started trying to become more conscious of what I was doing and feeling. And first thing I do in the morning is I grab Tudor, and he's big. He's a big dog, so I just like squeeze him so tight, and I just take the biggest deep breaths in, and I just lay there like 5 to 10 minutes, however much I need to just really collect myself, because sometimes it's not always easy to get out of bed, right? There
Mm-hmm.
are days where I'm just like waking up drained, whether it be maybe a restless night or bad dreams or whatever it may be, being able to find so much positive healing energy within that. I know we talked about like the cuddling, like that's a big thing,
Mm-hmm.
like parents with their children,
Mm-hmm.
and like incorporating that into children at an early age, I think is very important. Just the nature, like what do they say? I always blank on this word. It's the touch deprivation, right? So many people
Yeah.
don't, they lack human touch, human connection,
All the
whether
like
it's
skin to
holding a
skin
hand.
as a
Yeah, the
parent. Yeah.
hug. Yeah, I noticed a lot. Like, I'm not a mother. I haven't, but I've noticed that, they do the skin to skin instantly when, a
Yeah,
baby
they
is
do.
born, the first thing. And there's so much scientific proof behind um, the healing of that. And I thought it was so bizarre. I was like, there's actual like cuddle therapy. My mind was flipping blown. I was like, wait, hold on. So I can go to like a doctor's office and like I can cuddle. It just sounds so bizarre, but there's just so much. It's the craziest thing. It's so cool. I don't know if it's something I would necessarily do, but that's kind of the point of it, because so many people don't feel comfortable with it and breaking through for that, especially for if you're raising children and you want to maybe raise them in a different way that you may not have experienced. I know, like growing up, we were always very touchy, like we would do like the softy scratch and the cuddles and hugs all the time, and we were very lovey dovey. That's a better word, lovey dovey. We were a lovey dovey family.
Yeah.
So like kind of working through that, because like there's really no reason for me to feel uncomfortable with it, but yeah, there's kind of a boundary that I set
Right.
between
Right.
people. Like, let me work through this.
Like, can I cuddle with a pet at the doctor's office? Because I can
Yeah,
do that
that
all day
counts,
long.
right? It has to count. I get the same vibes, right?
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. Um, well, like one of the other things too that have kind of been like on a bucket list for me of something that I want to do that I think that I can add to really make me feel good, and something that I just think is really interesting. And that goes back to kind of what you were saying, is like it makes you uncomfortable to think of like maybe doing that, but will that bring you, like, ultimately, is that going to bring you the happy, like, just an insane amount of happiness that you just don't even know about, and like you should truly try it. Like, like there's like laughing yoga, and there's like goat yoga, and there's like,
Oh my God,
there's
I
so
want to
many
do that
things.
so bad. I want to do laughing yoga so bad.
Yeah,
I forgot that
so
was the
many
thing.
things. Yes, 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 absolutely. And there's actually ones with like little puppies and little kitties, and they come around and they're just all jumping
God,
on you, and you
so
just do
fun.
yoga, and you just,
Sure.
yeah, girl, we'll have to get together after this and like find us one. Yeah,
Um, yes. Okay, that's
yeah,
officially on my bucket list. Speaking of bucket lists,
yeah,
make yourself a
yeah,
bucket list, y'all. I found so much joy in doing that and like writing it down. It gives you so much power, and it really enables you to like, hey, it's possible. It's gonna happen. It's on my list. It's official. It makes it so official. I love
yeah.
it. I need to. I've been fighting with Yahoo. Yes, Yahoo, for so long to let me in to get my bucket list from my old email. I can't get in,
Oh
and
no.
yeah, but I had like 172 things on my bucket list.
Yes, girl.
Like, and some of them were ridiculous. Like, I was gonna float in the Dead Sea, like face down, like float like I was dead. Like,
No,
because the
I can't.
irony. Um, like silly, but
Yeah.
I need like a bird's eye picture of me floating face down in the Dead Sea. I think it would be the most epic meme on the planet. I need to do it.
Oh yeah. Oh yes. We get some great,
Um,
great laughs out of that.
then like slow dancing in front of the Hollywood sign, because I think this is so epically cute.
Yeah.
I might get arrested, but that's okay. Um, yeah, just with from silly things to really like fun. I did so much of my bucket list when I traveled the country selling magazines. I did the 101, Mardi Gras, just so fun things. Just letting
Yeah.
yourself experience different things in life is a really big part of like chasing those feel goods, and making sure you're allowing yourself to experience and do the things that you want to do.
Right. Like life isn't all about work, and it doesn't, that goes for anything that you do, whether you advocate, whether you work a 9 to 5, whether you have a bakery, whatever it is, right? Work is never our sole passion, right? Like ourselves and the people around us and who are in our circle. And so it's so important, right, to like work on those things and really find happiness in every one of the categories in your life, whether it be work and personal and family and relationships. But it's also important to have those bucket lists and have like, when I used to think bucket list, rather, it was always like, oh, I want to travel to like, Spain or something, but that seemed really far off to me. But when I also made a bucket list of things like things I could do within the next month or maybe next 6 months, like that really helped me. And like, then I was able to really start getting some stuff checked off, and I was like, this is great. But I think one of the things that's on my more like my sooner bucket list is float therapy.
Oh my gosh, yes. And it's so important. You make such a good point, and thank you for bringing that up because it is so important to, yes, have your long term, like, end goal dreams and things that you want to do. Like, this is the list before I die. I'm going to do this. But here's the list that I want to do in the next month, 3 months, 6 months, year. Like, break it down. And that's so important.
Mm-hmm.
It keeps you accountable, and it makes sure it keeps your goals and the things that you want to do attainable,
Yep.
accountable and attainable. And it's just so, it gives you so much power in being able to manifest them into your life, which is really, really cool.
Yeah.
But yes, flow therapy and the salt cave therapy.
Yeah. Salt
It's
caves are
like pink
awesome. I
salt,
have
right?
done them a few times, and I think that for you with your asthma and things, I think that that salt cave is going to be like super beneficial, and you're just going to love it. It's super super cool, and we do have a few that are close to us, so we'll definitely figure it out. And they're on Groupon, so we got it.
Dude,
Um,
we're gonna plan a day. It's gonna be a girls' day. We're gonna go to laughing yoga and
yeah,
we're gonna go to float therapy and then we're gonna go to the salt caves.
yes. And
And
I
then,
there
oh,
is a lot of things of the float therapy that kind of freak me out. So like, it isn't one that I would like because water's like
wait, what do you
not
mean?
really. Well, like water's not usually really my thing, but like okay, so you
Oh,
like but like you climb into a a box or like a
oh, that's
uh
weird. So you're in a box.
enclosed you're in an enclosement or whatever enclosure
I'm
and then
thinking like
it's
floating down a river in a
oh
tube.
I wouldn't be doing that. Are you gonna be no. This is like you get into like a box type thing, a large box or enclosure, and it has salt water in there, so you float, right? And so like some of them have like even like little pillows and like soft meditative music, and you float. You don't have to stand. You don't have to hold yourself up. You don't have to think. You don't have to none of it. All you have to do is just breathe and float. Like, and I think I think I want to get to that would kind of be like my next stage of like letting go is like, okay, I don't have to do a thing. I don't have to move a muscle. I don't have to stand. I don't have to do nothing. I just float and forget all my worries.
Oh my gosh. See, I would be so claustrophobic, I feel like.
I think it's a
Oh,
little bigger than that so that
oh,
you
okay,
don't feel
okay.
that way.
Because like I'm
I've
like
I've
thinking,
seen some
okay,
that
I
are
can do a
smaller.
tanning bed, but I know like tanning beds open, and
Yeah.
I'm like weird. Like I leave them cracked a little. But yeah, no, I would definitely that would be so good in healing, just in like allowing myself to heal from the claustrophobia too, because that's a thing that really doesn't get talked about a lot, but it's like
Yeah.
it takes an emotional toll in those moments where you are enclosed, and to be able to take yourself out of the situation I think is super super important. So that is officially on my list to do float therapy.
Yeah. And there's a lot that are close to us as well. And I think that goes mostly for anybody. So, like, when it really comes to things, I think don't just think surface level, right? Because I could search feel goods and I could take a bath with a bath bomb, or I could do a shower with a shower mountain. Like, that makes me feel good.
I
Um,
love baths. I do
yeah.
baths.
Yeah. And those are little things that we can do. Like, let's say we had a bad day. We weren't planning on it that day, but like, let's just get in the bath. Let's let ourselves relax, or we get up in the morning and I don't know, we listen to some meditation before we start our day. Those are little things that you can do throughout the day. But I think there's things that like you need to search too to really push how good can you feel. Don't sell yourself short when it comes to feeling good. And different ways to do that.
Yeah, I mean the list is like endless. I feel like we could go on for 72 hours about this. There's so many things that you can really do, and it's okay to allow yourself, even like, because I would get trapped sometimes, like, because like even allowing yourself to enjoy a TV show, because like I think it's important to maintain balance, and I was not balancing the amount I was watching TV, so it sat
Mm-hmm.
heavy because it was more of an escape versus like something that would allow me to experience joy in those moments or whatever. But yeah, like let yourself enjoy your TV show. Like
Yeah.
as long as you're doing it like in a healthy way, it's so important to even allow yourself, and don't like be hard on yourself, because I'm like, you're so lazy. Like I would be so self-deprecating, even just allowing myself to watch a movie. Like, no, don't do that, girl.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, you got to give yourself the time and set aside the time, no matter how big or small it is. But I just think that the most important part is to make sure that you're trying to find a balance in everything that you're doing, and that you try to be as consistent as possible. And when you realize that your cup is running low or that you are on empty, like that, you need to start filling that. And so then maybe that time, if you're on empty, maybe it's not just a bath. Maybe you need to get up out of your house, right? And you may have to push yourself, but maybe you need to get up out of your house and you need to go to that salt cave. Or like another thing that I'm really excited about doing is a Reiki healer. Like I'm just so interested in that whole idea. I've always loved meditation, yoga, those types of things, just kind of getting good with like your inner self and just being okay with yourself. And I think like the chakras and stuff and all of that sort of thing is just really starting to interest me, because as I try to balance myself more in my day and my work life and everything like that, I really am coming back to like the energies I give out and let out and that I receive in. And so I think there's just a lot of healing and good that can come from like Reiki healing and avenues like that.
I absolutely agree. And it's just, I mean, it's all about energy, right? And what you allow into your life. So that really resonates very heavily with me. Um, I really want to, it was on, not officially on the bucket list that I've been talking about, that's trapped in Yahoo. But a more recent bucket list was to become I would love to be a Reiki healer. Like, I think it would be
Yeah.
so cool, not even to, maybe not necessarily do it in a professional sense, but to gain that knowledge and how to do it. I think it's so cool. It's so cool. And there's just so much really cool science, but I think there's a lot of stigma behind that because it's kind of like woo woo, whatever. But
Yeah.
there's so much science behind it. And we are energy, period. And we have several, I think there's like 72 energy points in our body. And then we've got, of course, like the seven main chakras, or I think it's chakras is like the technical pronunciation. But
Love it.
yeah, the crystals. And I was going to say, like, allowing myself to, like, I love going to like crystal shops.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the things I just really enjoy. Now we have our own crystal shop basically, but I know it's so cool. But that's one thing that I really enjoy doing is discovering and learning. And there's just, oh my gosh, the cleansing process of the crystals and stones, and just allowing those energies to soak in. You know, I was raised Christian, so that's my go-to when I pray. I pray in Jesus' name, and but I feel like there's a lot of stigma between the witchy things, and I want to break that too, because I mean they were created for a reason, and I do believe in a divine creator ultimately. I don't really like labeling. I'm very spiritual. I really don't like saying I'm Christian per se, because my beliefs go very much outside of that. Um, but yeah, I he created it for a reason, man. And
That's
it's
right.
just so I love really giving him the glory in that, and just allowing myself to enjoy and take advantage of the tools that were created for us.
Yeah, definitely. And just taking all these different avenues, whether like we said, there's just such a range of what can be good for you, what's good for you, and just finding that balance. But there's so many things that I think people can find happiness in. And I think oftentimes when we get overwhelmed with life or finances or, what's going on in the world, or when we want to sit in like a stagnant spot because the world was at a standstill for 2 years, like sometimes we just get stuck in these things and then we stop searching for happiness, right? It doesn't, like, nothing just comes to us really in this world, right? Like not much really just comes to us naturally like that. We have to go out there and we have to get it and we have to take action. So I think it's just really important to help yourself find those happy things. But when you find a person also in a stagnant spot, like we said in the beginning, like a smile being kind, things like that. That will all start giving these happy hormones to yourself and the people around you that'll allow everyone else to like really start looking after their happiness. So just remember that even though we've talked about a lot of different, we can do Reiki healing and we can do this and we can do that. We can, but at the end of the day, it is about those simple things. It's a smile. It's being kind to somebody. It's complimenting somebody, right? When you're out and about, even if it's online, like a nice and sincere and genuine comment can truly change someone's day. A high five, you could wave at somebody. Maybe they haven't felt included in their life. Maybe they've never had somebody that included them or said hello to them or greeted them. So I think it's also just important to remember that no matter what your ideas are, they matter and they're never too little, right? Like if we wouldn't have started trying to make an impact, that's all the less impact that would be made in this world. So like you just start doing what you want to do, start putting happiness in it, start small and build on it, and you'll find so much happiness around you that you didn't even, I think, know was in your space.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you touched on that because that was the part in what we found in our study when we were looking about. I really wanted to touch on the science behind doing things that make you feel good because it's so important to really know what it does chemically in your brain when you do these things. And for something as simple as being kind to somebody else will benefit you so tremendously. Not only are you changing that person's life potentially, or at the very least, you're changing that moment for them. They'll
Right.
always remember you for that kind gesture. You'll always make an impact. You'll always allow them to feel positive energy and loving energy because it's so important that we all feel those love vibes. So not only are you giving it, but you're allowing yourself to produce it as well. So the more that we give it, the more that we're giving to ourselves at the same time, which is just the coolest thing.
Yeah. So just be able to receive happiness and also look for it yourself, guys. That's really like our main message of what we want to come across with tonight is that really it can be different for anyone and it can be little and it can be big and anything in between. But really just to truly search for happiness in your life because life is a lot and life is hard and nobody said, nobody ever told me it was going to be easy, but you know what I mean? Like, so I think it's just so important that we do search and chase after what truly makes us feel good and know that it's going to pivot I know it's pivoted a lot for me, like what brought me happiness, when I was a kid, maybe is not so much anymore, because we've been through life, we've been through experiences. So if you need to like reevaluate what brings you happiness, stop for a second, reevaluate what's going to make you happy. And if you can't come up with that answer about what's going to make you happy, because that's sometimes kind of hard to brainstorm if you're in a really low spot, I would say what doesn't make you happy. And then when you start filling out some of that and thinking about some of that mentally or journaling on that, I think your mind will start to think, okay, but if that stuff doesn't make me happy, then this must or this will bring me happiness. As just a way to start getting your mind thinking about different ways as you go into the summer and the sun and all the vitamin D and all the good things that summer brings and all the memories and things and swimming and all those fun activities, right? Um,
So,
just think about it and really try to find that happiness. And I would suggest that like everybody really self-reflects on it too after the day and like what brought you joy out of that day so that you can start putting more of that on your schedule and penciling in a lot more of those moments.
yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna quote my grandma, y'all. um, she would always say this to me. She's like, you have to cut your pie in even pieces. You gotta cut your pie in. You gotta cut your pie right. You've got too much on one end and you're not balanced. And that really resonated with me in so many different ways. But it's not something I really understood until you know really kind of, I mean, even more recently now. I think it's just a continual journey of
Mm-hmm.
learning and growing more year after year. But um, just knowing the importance of balancing the good with the fun with the necessary rather, um,
Mm-hmm.
and allowing yourself to have those slices of fun,
Mm-hmm.
and to measure them in accordance with, the work and things like that.
Yeah, the work and the action that you're putting in, definitely. And I think it's, and something we always talk about too is, rewarding yourself. So I think it is important to reward yourself when you are doing those things, and to recognize yourself, right? Because then you will keep on doing it for yourself and keep on creating those moments in that balance. Um, but I also think too that when you do that, everything starts to come like so full circle, right? And if you can reflect on this and you can share that with somebody else, like, and change another life, and we can start all these smiles and just acts of kindness, like, really think of how this world would be. Like, we are coming out of a hard time for anyone, whether you had mental health issues, anything. It doesn't matter if you did or you didn't. Like, these last 2 years, like, they were hard. Okay, whether financially, I know parents, it was super hard on because you didn't have childcare, and there's so many things, right, that have challenged us. But now the challenge is getting back out there, getting back around people, giving hugs again. Like, come on, like handshakes,
Right.
hugs,
We need
all these
hugs,
things.
y'all.
Yeah, it's true. We're
Okay,
coming back.
I just we need to make like give me a hug shirts or
Yes,
something. Like
free
we need to
hugs.
do something of yeah, free hugs. There we go. We're doing free hug shirts. It's so necessary. I love that. Yeah, let's do that.
Yes. Well, and the celebrating and the high fives, right? That's like where I'll end on some of the things that have brought me happiness lately is um the high fives and celebrating yourself. Because you, at the end of the day, like, you have to show up for your life. Nobody else is going to show up for your life and your dreams for you. So, like, really celebrate yourself for doing those things. And Mel Robbins talks a lot about the power of the high five. And it is really powerful. Like, that's how we celebrate things with people, right? When somebody does something good, and they, you know your child figured out the right math problem, their teacher gives them a high five, they feel good about that, right? There's this release of hormones, or, right, emotions. But what if you were to change that around and look in a mirror and do it to yourself? Yes, it feels weird. Yes, it will feel weird the first couple times. It's not like I like high five myself in the mirror like all the time before, but like, it did feel a little weird. I'm like, okay, good job, self. But then
I
I was like,
noticed like
oh
after
wait,
the third or fourth time, I think it was like the fourth time I high fived myself. I actually like turned around for a second. I was like, give me one more.
yeah. And it's like, it does make you feel good, and it is that sharing of like experience and like job well done. But when you change it and you put it towards yourself, it's like, wow, like, with the work it can really do. And when you really start to retrain your brain to celebrate yourself, it does such great work, and it brings me a lot of happiness and personal joy. So if you haven't read about that, or maybe read some of Mel Robbins stuff on the high five habit, I highly would suggest it, because it's made a lot of difference in just my daily happiness. And
Yeah, absolutely. It does. It does. It, I mean, you're creating such an amazing energy within yourself and the environment and your whole world, really. You just really bring that in and allow yourself to celebrate and win on a daily basis. You're always winning, man. And I feel like it's so easy to slip into those mindsets, especially when you experience, unfortunate circumstances or, trauma. I mean, things happen that aren't always in our control. And it's so important to healing in allowing yourself to bring celebration back into your life.
yep. Yeah, and I think the important part about that is that, like, everyone is worthy of happiness, right? No matter what you've been through, no matter what you've been told, um, whether it be from religion or parents, or just whoever or whomever, right? Everyone is worthy of happiness. End of story. Like, period. That's it. Um, Everybody should just feel like they want to smile. They should feel how it feels to be touched by another human. They should know how it feels to you should know how it feels to get a compliment, and I think there's just so much in that. And I just want everyone to know that you are truly worthy of it, no matter what has happened to you up until this point or past this point. You are so worthy of happiness. And search for it yourself, and look for it. It's all around, truly.
Yeah, absolutely. To reiterate, you are so loved, and so worthy. We cannot say that enough, truly. And that really is our mission, to make sure that every single human soul knows their worth, and feels that way. If you have a journey that you would like to share, we'd love to hear it. I think it's really important that we celebrate each other in that way, and allow people to share their journey, share their story, share their testimony, their experiences, their wins, their victories, their traumas, whatever it may be. Um, Let us know. We have amazing guest speakers lined up, but we're always looking for. We would love it for more. Flood up
Yeah.
our inboxes, y'all. Um, Thank you so much again for being here. Again, this was the 14th episode of Monumental Minds, where every mind matters. For those of you who haven't been with us before, we really wanted to bring it to TikTok, just to get some more engagement with our followers there. So thank you so much for joining us. We will be live again next week. To be determined whether it's going to be, I would love to come back on TikTok, but we're going to reflect a little bit and give ourselves some time to determine which platform we're going to be going live from. But it will be next Saturday at 6 p.m. And thank you again for the endless support and love. You guys have been absolutely amazing. If you didn't catch the beginning, if you're just hopping on, we have all of our links in bios. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sorry, we have all of our links in our bios. um, that we were live from my personal page today. Mariah was live from MR2 Connections Incorporated TikTok. Well, if you haven't followed us there yet, hop on MR2, follow us there. Hop on Mariah's personal page, follow her there. She's always got really awesome videos, and she's got so much to share, and just so much, her beautiful family and Nina Bean and all her creations. So make sure you check those out. We've got amazing videos on all of our YouTube channels, my personal channel, Mariah's personal channel, and of course, MR2 Connections, y'all. We're in a race to 100 subscribers. That way we can customize our link, which is going to be really cool. It's just going to make us so much easier to find and make it easily accessible for you guys. That way, we're not remembering like a weird code. We're
It's
so
baby
excited.
steps.
Right. And I cannot tell you, we're just so like humbled and
Yeah.
thrilled at the same time, because it's just grown so much more rapidly than we even thought. But of course, we've got the biggest dreams and the biggest goals. We want to reach everybody, but it starts with y'all. Like, you guys are our foundation, our base for the growth. So thank you again. Please keep liking, sharing, following us on all the platforms. I know we've got our personal Snapchats. We do not have an MR2 Connection Snapchat, but follow us on our personal chats. And then we've got MR2 Connections Inc. that we're working on building our Instagram. It's a baby, it's a newborn, so we're trying to work with that. And of course, our Facebook page. Um, I love y'all. I love y'all so much. Thank you for being here. And again, stay tuned for next week, Saturday at 6 p.m. Central. Until then, keep those good vibes spreading.
Bye, guys.